Hi, I'm Amadea Morningstar, a polarity therapist practicing and writing here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm very glad to be with you all here. I graduated in 1998 from Dr. Damon Fazio's Earthwise RPP program in Albuquerque. I became an RPE in 2003, and I taught for many years polarity therapy at the New Mexico Academy of Healing Arts, as well as at my own institute, the Ayurveda Polarity Therapy and Yoga Institute. Currently, I'm not teaching, I'm practicing and full-time in writing. And I wanted to share a condensed version of a keynote I gave for APTA in 2012 as a way to honor my teachers, my mentors, what I've learned, my colleagues, and also to share my journey. Now we're looking at Indigenous Wisdom and Polarity Therapy, which is the journey that I'd like to share with you today. So, as I mentioned, I'm here in the Southwest, and Hopi teachings have influenced my practice of polarity therapy quite a bit. I first met Grandfather Thomas Banyacya in the early 1990s, just a little bit before I encountered polarity therapy. He was giving a speech about his life at the Unitarian Church in Santa Fe. As he spoke about how he'd spent 7 years in federal prison as a conscientious objector to World War II, I felt like I really needed to connect with him. So I did, and after the talk, I went up to speak with him, and he said, "Come visit me in Hopi." And that began a journey. Grandfather Thomas had received the Hopi Prophecy transmission in the 1940s. It was given to 4 people at that time. One of the prophecies stated that a gourd full of ashes would be invented, which, if dropped from the sky, would boil the oceans and burn the land, causing nothing to grow for many years. This would be a signal for certain Hopis to reveal some of the teachings in order to warn the world of drastic changes that could bring an end to all life unless people corrected themselves and their leaders in time. So they first spoke out as young people right after Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1946. Grandfather David Monongye worked very closely with Grandfather Thomas, and I first met him 12 years before in 1979 at Lama Foundation north of Taos. The two of them worked together extensively to pass on the Hopi prophecies. And at this point, this picture, they were just trying to get out the word to anyone, including young white people like myself. They worked very closely with other Native peoples. This is Grandfather Thomas on the left and Oren Lyons, the Iroquois elder, on the right. And what they're demonstrating is one of the key Hopi prophecies that I wanted to talk about today. Among the prophecies were that the East would come to the West, and the Tibetan leaders met with Hopi elders and Hopi as often as they possibly could. So this prophecy very much came true. The idea that what we do matters and contributes to the whole was a shared value among both Hopi and Tibetan people. I later met my Tibetan teachers, and I write about polarity therapy and Dharma and current events in my Substack now. This is the pictograph that shows the prophecy that I'm mentioning today. Here's a graphic about it, and I wanted to talk just a little bit about this, in that I think it has meaning for all of us at this point in time. The large figure right here on the left is the Great Spirit. The hand holding the weapon represents the Great Spirit's instructions to the Hopi to lay down their weapons. The vertical line here, it's gotten lost here. The vertical line here is a time scale in thousands of years. The life path established by the Great Spirit is expressed here in this lower line, where there's a person planting corn. It's the grounded path that's in alignment with the earth and respect for values. There's another choice which is the white people's path, white scientists' accomplishments, which go off into the void. The circle represents the whole path of life. The cross represents Christianity. There's a choice between the grounded path and what we'll call the up in the air path. There's a short path back where someone can come to their senses and join the grounded path. The idea is that we have a choice. And polarity therapy aligns closely with many of the values of the grounded path, as you may be about to see. So the values related to this grounded natural path are inner-directed, related to sensation, breath, feeling, thought, and sacred vision. In this path, one relies on the energy of truth itself. One consciously refrains from forcing others to do one's will, and one lives in harmony with nature. Exploring Hopi values for oneself, you can ask yourself how often you trust yourself, how often you let your respect for nature flow through your life, how often you trust your clients' paths, even if they're different from your own. And I ask myself, when is this easier for me to do? What conditions help me to stay on a grounded path? The grounded path of life also relates to reverence for the 5 elements of nature: earth, water, fire, air, and space. Whereas the up in the air path relates more to distraction, restlessness, and not respecting earth values in others. And sometimes I'll just ask myself, how often do I forget to respect nature or my part in the dance? When is this easier for me to do? We can also look at these values, the grounded path, in terms of polarity therapy community. How can the positive values of our group remain viable? How can each of us maintain a healthy, grounded identity as individuals and yet work together creatively? Dr. Randolph Stone very much embodied many of the values of the Hopi Way, and his integrity drew me to polarity therapy in the mid-1990s. Sometimes I just ask Dr. Stone directly for guidance when doing a session. I feel like I should probably do this more often. Right now, about half my practice is hands-on work, and which also integrates with Ayurveda Marma therapy, and half is Ayurveda self-care practice. Honoring the ancestors is very much part of the practice. For me, practicing polarity therapy includes all of these, hands-on focus, relaxing body work, an open attitude, work with the elements, being at home with the elements, and compassion. This is my mentor, colleague, and friend, Dr. Damon Fazio, who I very much appreciate his presence on the planet still. 2 other people that really influenced me early on were John and Anna Chitty. They were tremendous inspirations for me, and I still use much of the footwork that John Chitty taught us in 1996. I also wrote a book of my own called The Ayurveda Guide to Polarity Therapy, which is a self-care guide. The late 90s and early 2000s were just a golden period for me in terms of polarity therapy. This is Roger Gilchrist up in Crestone in front of the Tibetan stupa. New Mexico Academy of Healing Arts, where I taught, had numerous polarity therapies, all of us teaching at the same therapists at the same time, including Roger Gilchrist, Moksha Coleman, Damon Fazio, and Glenn Weimer. It was just really fun. There were also remarkable guest teachers. They invited Dr. Jim Saeed and John Chitty. Looking at the stupa, I just think about how much Tibetan values and Hopi values strongly align. In those days, the APTA conferences attracted the same sorts of exciting people that you're probably experiencing right now, including polarity therapist and shaman Rose Khalsa, whose work I just took when anytime I could get a chance to work with Rose, I did. There were so many people that were just fine people coming to the conferences. Janice Marie Durand, Phil Young, Mary Jo Hoven, Cynthia Piero, Iva Lloyd, Eleonora Lipton, and John Beaulieu, just to name a few. Shola Ariwa, who I'm still in connection with, came from London. It was just very exciting to be at the conferences, and I'm so glad you guys are getting to do that now. Gary Peterson, who's the therapist shown here, both Gary and Bonnie Peterson were quite active in the polarity community at that time. And Gary was the executive director of APTA from 1993 to 2000. And as I was just beginning my journey, and he was just so kind and generous. I just really appreciated his work. Part, of course, of polarity therapy is the polarity yoga and moving together. And I taught polarity yoga at New Mexico Academy of Healing Arts from 1998 till 2015, as well as the energetic nutrition component. There are short free videos on my YouTube channel, which are how-tos on Dr. Stone stretches. In these days now, polarity therapy hands-on work seems as an incredibly valuable tool to me to reset in the midst of the many up in the air ways of being that surround us now. And I'm just so grateful to my clients and my colleagues that I'm still able to do this work. It's the focus that it brings to me and the people I'm working with feels invaluable at this time. Today, we're planting seeds. As you're doing this conference, you're planting seeds. We're planting seeds with every action. Indigenous scientist Robin Wall Kimmerer, who you probably know as the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, has recently begun a new intergenerational grassroots group, Plant Baby Plant, the latest incarnation of Indigenous wisdom. Plant Baby Plant lends strong weight to the grounded path in these drill baby drill times. She's pointed out we may not see all the results, and yet we work for the present and for the coming generations. When I was researching Ayurvedic Guide to Polarity Therapy, Dr. John Botery's index of the polarity writings of Dr. Randolph Stone were kind of the main thing that carried me. Later, digital Dr. Stone became available, and I just wanted to speak for a moment about John Botery, who's passed, and yet was such a special person. There's a guest article by him in the APTA online library from 2022 that I would recommend. He was a key polarity therapist and teacher in Michigan. His presence, his humility, his kindness, his questing mind and love truly inspired me. And the index is still, it's very simple and it's just a few, it's a short work, but if you can get your hands on it, it has good insights into the working of Dr. Randolph Stone. And I'm very grateful, of course, to John Chitty and everyone at the Colorado School of Energy Studies who did another kind of seed saving by creating digital Dr. Stone. As we open to the heart of our profession, Dr. Stone so emphasized high integrity, kindness, respect, and as I close today, there's so many treasured colleagues that I've not mentioned who bring that forward. This is Shanna Marsh Martinez, Shanna Marsh, who's a longtime friend, colleague, and teacher, who happened to give me a polarity therapy session right before the keynote 14 years ago. And she's been a real inspiration to me in opening to the heart and opening to the shadow as well. Other people that some I've mentioned and some I want to mention again, Dr. Iva Lloyd, Gwendolyn Hensey, Michelle Hurling, Brian Jensen, Ellen Kruger, again, Janice Marie Durand, have been inspirations to me in my recent journey. So I honor the heart of our community. Returning to the values described in the Hopi Prophecy does not necessarily ensure our healthy survival. Yet the Iroquois people say that there are at least 6 possible responses to any challenge. So there's lots of ways to choose a grounded path. As we open to the present moment, we open to our love and all the positive qualities that we know about each other and ourselves. As a Tibetan practitioner, I open to the 4 immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and empathetic joy. The gladness for others' joy. I want to send deep blessings and deep appreciation to everyone here especially to our board of directors, to Denise, Kim, Adam, Nasima, Jennifer, C, Mark, Joanna, and Julia, and to everyone here. It's been such a joy to be a polarity therapist, and I'm so glad that I still am. And I wanted to close just with this quote from Dr. Pierre Banyacya. And here's my info. Thank you so much for asking me.